The stars shimmered outside the viewport of the stellar dawn, casting a serene light over the ship as it drifted through the calm expanse of space. But inside the bridge, the atmosphere was far from calm. The weight of recent events hung heavily over the crew, and Alya could feel it in every glance, every whispered conversation. She stood at the helm, staring out at the vastness before her. It had been weeks since they had sealed the power of the ancient crystal and defeated Zale. The Vraath had retreated, their forces fractured, and for a moment there had been a fragile peace. But Alya knew better. She could feel it in her bones. This was not the end. The galaxy was on the brink of something far worse. The artifact, now resting securely in a sealed chamber, was quiet, but its presence had never truly left her. She could still feel the connection deep within her, a constant reminder of the ancient power she had touched. It had chosen her, and despite everything, Alya knew that the real battle had yet to come. "Captain," Thane's voice broke through the silence, pulling her from her thoughts. He stood beside her, his face etched with concern. "We've just received a transmission from Governor Ryloth. He's requesting an immediate conference call. Says it's urgent." Alya sighed softly and nodded. "Patch it through to the war room. I'll take it there." As she made her way to the war room, a sense of dread settled in her chest. Ryloth rarely requested urgent meetings unless something was seriously wrong. The fragile alliance they had pieced together was already strained, and if it was falling apart now, with the Vraath still out there regrouping, they would be in serious trouble. The war room was dimly lit, its large view screen flickering to life as Ryloth's image appeared. His face was gaunt, his eyes shadowed with exhaustion and worry. "Alya," he began, skipping any pleasantries, "we have a problem." Alya folded her arms, her posture rigid. "What is it?" Ryloth leaned forward, his voice tense. "There have been incidents. Several of the colony worlds that were part of our alliance have reported strange occurrences, ships disappearing, entire colonies going dark. At first, we thought it was remnants of the Vraath forces, but now, I'm not so sure." Alya's heart sank. "You think it's something else?" Ryloth nodded grimly. "The reports are vague, but there are whispers of ships with advanced cloaking technology, far beyond anything the Vraath or any known faction possess. And there's something else. Some of the survivors, those who managed to escape, are reporting sightings of artifacts." The word hit Alya like a punch to the gut. "Artifacts?" Ryloth's expression was grave. "Yes. Artifacts similar to the one you've been dealing with. These sightings are linked to strange energy signatures, the same kind of signatures we picked up during your mission to the crystal. I don't think it's a coincidence." Alya's mind raced. She had thought the artifact in her possession was unique, the last remnant of a long-forgotten power. But if other artifacts were surfacing, and if they were connected to this new threat, then the situation was far worse than she'd imagined. "We need to investigate," Alya said, her voice steady despite the turmoil inside her. "Send me the coordinates of the most recent disappearance. We'll head there immediately." Ryloth's image flickered for a moment, and he gave a reluctant nod. "I've already sent the data. Be careful, Alya. Whatever's happening out there, it's unlike anything we've seen before." The transmission ended, leaving Alya alone in the war room, her mind spinning with possibilities. More artifacts, ships disappearing, advanced technology that no one had seen before. It all pointed to one thing: the ancient forces behind the artifacts were waking up, and the galaxy wasn't ready. Back on the bridge, Alya relayed the new orders to Thane and Mira, both of whom listened intently as she explained the situation. "So, there are more artifacts," Mira said, her voice barely above a whisper. "And they're somehow tied to these attacks?" Alya nodded, her expression grim. "That's what it looks like. Ryloth's reports suggest these incidents are escalating, and if the artifacts are involved, it could mean we're dealing with something far more dangerous than we anticipated." Thane's face darkened as he studied the tactical display. "If these artifacts are anything like the one you're carrying, then we're in trouble. We barely survived what happened with the crystal. Now there's more of them?" Alya knew what he meant. The artifact had chosen her, bonded with her in a way that still felt both intimate and terrifying. It had given her power, more power than she had ever thought possible, but it had also shown her the terrible consequences of that power. The ancient civilization that had created the artifacts had been destroyed by their own ambition, consumed by the very forces they sought to control. And now it seemed that power was stirring once again. "We need to get ahead of this," Alya said, her voice firm. "Whatever's out there, we need to find it before it's too late." Mira nodded, her face lined with concern. "But what if we're too late already?" Alya didn't have an answer for that. The stellar dawn cut through space at high speed, heading toward the coordinates provided by Ryloth. As the ship drew closer to its destination, the tension among the crew grew palpable. This wasn't just another mission. This felt like the beginning of something far more dangerous. "Captain, we're approaching the designated coordinates," Thane said, his voice calm but tense. "I'm picking up something." Alya leaned over the console, her eyes scanning the data. The readings were erratic, fluctuating wildly, as if the space around them was unstable. There was no sign of debris, no trace of the colony ships that had gone missing. But there was something else. "Energy signatures," Alya muttered, her heart racing. "The same kind we detected back at the crystal." Mira's face paled as she examined the readings. "Captain, this isn't just one artifact. There's more than one energy signature. A lot more." Alya's blood ran cold. "How many?" Mira swallowed hard. "At least 4, maybe more. They're scattered across the system, but they're all active." Alya's mind raced. 4 artifacts, each one radiating the same kind of energy as the one she carried. If they were all connected to the ancient civilization that had created the crystal, then the implications were staggering. The galaxy wasn't just dealing with the remnants of a forgotten power, it was facing the reawakening of something far older, far more dangerous. "Prepare a shuttle," Alya ordered, her voice sharp. "We're going down there. I want to see these artifacts for myself." Thane nodded, his expression grim. "Understood." As the stellar dawn moved into orbit around the planet, Alya felt the weight of the artifact against her chest, its pulse growing stronger with each passing moment. The connection between her and the other artifacts was undeniable, and as they drew closer, she could feel their presence, like distant voices calling to her across the void. They were waking up, and the galaxy was running out of time. The shuttle landed on the planet's surface, its engines kicking up clouds of dust as the ramp lowered. Alya led the way, her heart pounding as she stepped onto the barren ground. The landscape was desolate, marked by jagged rocks and deep chasms, and the air was thick with the hum of energy. "This place feels wrong," Mira whispered, her eyes scanning the horizon. "The energy here, it's everywhere." Alya nodded. She could feel it too. The air crackled with power, the same power she had felt at the crystal, but multiplied tenfold. The artifacts were here, somewhere close, and they were growing stronger. As they moved deeper into the rocky terrain, the ground beneath their feet trembled, and a low, eerie hum filled the air. Alya stopped, her hand instinctively reaching for the artifact hanging around her neck. It was pulsing wildly now, in sync with the energy around them. "We're close," Alya said, her voice tight. "The artifacts are here." Suddenly, a blinding light erupted from the ground ahead of them, and the earth shook violently. Alya stumbled, catching herself as the light intensified, illuminating a massive stone structure rising from the ground. The structure was ancient, its surface carved with intricate symbols and designs, and at its center stood 4 glowing artifacts, each one pulsing with the same eerie light as the one Alya carried. Mira's breath caught in her throat. "Captain, what is this?" Alya stepped forward, her heart pounding in her chest. "This is what we've been looking for." The artifacts glowed brighter, their energy converging as the ground beneath them trembled. Alya could feel the pull of the ancient power, drawing her toward the center of the structure. The Final Ascension had begun. The air around the ancient structure hummed with energy, an overwhelming pulse that seemed to seep into Alya's bones. The 4 artifacts before her glowed brighter than ever, their light filling the stone chamber with a pale, eerie glow. Each pulse felt like a heartbeat, as if the very planet beneath them was alive. Mira stood beside Alya, her face pale, her hands trembling as she scanned the artifacts. "Captain, these readings, it's unlike anything I've ever seen. The power levels are off the charts." Alya clenched her fists, her heart pounding in her chest. "They're connected," she said softly, "to each other, and to the artifact I carry." Thane, who had been keeping watch, moved closer, his eyes scanning the perimeter of the structure. If these artifacts are as powerful as the one you've been carrying, we need to get out of here. Now, before they trigger something we can't control. Alya knew he was right, but something about this place, about the artifacts, kept her rooted to the spot. The artifact around her neck pulsed in time with the others, a steady, rhythmic beat that filled her with both fear and wonder. She had come here to find answers, and now that she was standing before them, she couldn't turn away. "I need to see more," Alya said quietly, stepping closer to the glowing artifacts. Mira's voice was shaky. "Captain, I don't think it's safe. We don't know what we're dealing with. These artifacts could be far more dangerous than the one we've encountered." Alya turned to her, her gaze steady. "I understand the risks, but if we leave now, we'll never understand what's happening here. The galaxy is in danger, and these artifacts are the key. If we don't learn how to control them, someone else will. We can't let that happen." Mira hesitated, then nodded reluctantly. "Just be careful." Alya stepped forward, her hand hovering above the closest artifact. Its light intensified, and she felt a surge of energy rush through her, like a current of electricity. The artifact in her hand began to glow brighter, responding to the others as if they were communicating. As Alya reached out to touch the glowing surface, a vision exploded in her mind. She was no longer standing in the stone chamber. Instead, she found herself in a vast, ancient city, its towering spires stretching toward the sky. The architecture was unlike anything she had ever seen, sleek, elegant, and shimmering with a soft, ethereal glow. The air was filled with the hum of energy, the same energy that pulsed from the artifacts. The city was alive with activity. Strange humanoid figures moved through the streets, their bodies illuminated with the same energy that filled the sky. They were tall, graceful beings, their faces serene and expressionless, their eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. Alya realized with a shock that these were the beings who had created the artifacts, the ancient race that had once wielded the power she now carried. She walked through the streets, her heart racing as she took in the sight of this lost civilization. It was beautiful, powerful, and yet there was something wrong. Beneath the surface of this pristine city, Alya could sense a deep, underlying tension. The energy that filled the air was too strong, too unstable. Suddenly, the ground beneath her feet shook, and the sky darkened. The peaceful city was plunged into chaos. The figures around her began to panic, their serene expressions replaced with fear, as the energy in the air grew violent, crackling with dark, uncontrolled power. Alya watched in horror as the city's spires began to crumble, the ground splitting open as massive shockwaves tore through the streets. The beings who had once walked these streets with grace and power were now running, screaming in terror as their world collapsed around them. The artifacts, Alya understood now. The same power that had given them dominion over their world had consumed them, spiraling out of control. Their ambition had led to their downfall. They had unlocked something far greater than they could control, and it had destroyed them. As the vision reached its climax, Alya saw the city's central spire, a massive structure that mirrored the artifacts she had encountered. It was glowing, pulsing with the same light, but as she watched, the light darkened, twisting into something malevolent. The spire exploded, sending waves of energy ripping through the city, annihilating everything in its path. The last thing Alya saw before the vision faded was the sky tearing open, revealing a vast, shadowy presence looming beyond the stars. And then it was gone. Alya stumbled backward, gasping for breath as the vision left her. The stone chamber spun around her, and she had to steady herself to keep from collapsing. "Captain!" Mira rushed to her side, her face filled with concern. "What happened?" Alya shook her head, her mind still reeling from the images she had seen. It wasn't just a vision, it was history. I saw the beings who created the artifacts. I saw what happened to them. Thane stepped forward, his face tense. "And?" Alya looked up at him, her voice filled with dread. "They destroyed themselves. The power of the artifacts consumed them. They unlocked something they couldn't control, and it tore their civilization apart." Mira's eyes widened. "So the same thing could happen to us?" Alya nodded. "If we're not careful, yes. The artifacts are more than just weapons. They're keys to something far older and far more dangerous than anything we've ever encountered." Thane's expression hardened. Then we need to destroy them. Now, before someone else tries to use them. Alya hesitated. I don't think we can. These artifacts, they're connected to something bigger, something ancient. If we try to destroy them, we might trigger the very thing we're trying to stop. Mira frowned. So, what do we do? Alya stood, her resolve hardening. We find out where the rest of the artifacts are. If they're connected, we need to understand their full purpose. There's a reason they're activating now, and we need to find out why. Thane crossed his arms, his gaze dark. And if someone else is already looking for them? Alya's heart sank. Then we're in a race, and we can't afford to lose. As the team made their way back to the stellar dawn, Alya couldn't shake the feeling of urgency that now gripped her. The vision had shown her what was at stake, the destruction of an entire civilization, the collapse of an ancient power too great to control. The galaxy was teetering on the edge of the same fate. The artifact still pulsed against her chest, a constant reminder of the power she carried, but it was also a reminder of the responsibility she bore. She had been chosen by the artifact, not just to wield its power, but to understand it, and to stop anyone from using it to destroy the galaxy. As they boarded the ship, Mira approached her, her voice low. Captain, I've been analyzing the energy signatures we picked up from the other artifacts. I think I've found a pattern. Alya raised an eyebrow. A pattern? Mira nodded, holding out her datapad. If you look here, you can see that the energy from each artifact is tied to specific coordinates across the galaxy. These points align with ancient star maps, maps that predate the Vraath Empire by millennia. I think these are the locations of other artifacts. Alya's pulse quickened. How many? Mira hesitated. At least 6, but there could be more. Alya's mind raced. We need to move fast. Whoever is behind these disappearances and attacks, they're after the artifacts too. And if they get to them first, we'll stop them, Thane said firmly, stepping up beside her. We won't let the galaxy fall. Alya looked out at the stars, her resolve hardening. The Final Ascension is coming, she said quietly, and we're the only ones who can stop it.